Hey there, fellow nerds, and welcome to our humble little page, Axes, Armor, and Amulets. I am your host and founder, Quentin Smart. And before we get started, I just want to take this opportunity that whether you found us through a Facebook page, another YouTube page, or heard it word of mouth, we're super glad you're here. We're super excited for this adventure. We're happy to have you along. Well, let's get right to it. What is Axes, Armor, and Amulets? Well, to make it fast, this is all about a bunch of nerds doing nerd things and recording it for the internet to laugh at and perhaps even enjoy. I started playing Dungeons and Dragons, which I will explain what that is in just a minute, when I was 14 years old. And that's because I've been a big nerd my entire life. Granted, I didn't start with 5th edition, it wasn't out yet, but I've played a bunch of the older variations, whether it was Palladium, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, 3.5, what have you. My personal favorite, however, would be Pathfinder and Starfinder. About 2 years ago, I started playing 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons with some friends of mine. What is Dungeons and Dragons, you ask? D&D is a tabletop roleplay game. You basically grab a couple of friends, decide who's going to be the game master, affectionately known as the GM, DM, for Dungeon Master, one of those two. And the rest of you pretend to be an adventurer while the Dungeon Master tells the story about your character. That's right. You get a bunch of adult friends around a table and you play make-believe. There are a lot of variations of tabletop games, such as Star Wars, the role-playing game, Mass Effect, the role-playing game, the Dragon Age, GURPS. There's a whole bunch. But the ones here at Axes, Armor, and Amulet that we are going to pay particular attention to is, of course, 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, Starfinder, and D20 Future. Well, after playing for the last 2 years with this group, we started letting people listen in to our games live. And right around that same time, I started getting invites to take part in and have the opportunity to play with a lot of other content creators on TikTok. And as we started, having live games and getting online and people seeing our faces, they started asking where our podcast was. And lo and behold, our podcast is now born, Axes, Armor, and Amulets. Our first 5 podcast episodes are slated to be released on November 5th. That podcast is going to be an adventure path from 5e Dungeons and Dragons. What's an adventure path, you ask? An adventure path is a pre-written adventure for our players to travel through, explore, and if everything goes well, eventually find, confront, and defeat the big bad evil guy, which is affectionately known as the BBEG. Adventure paths, especially in the older editions like Pathfinder, could take a significant amount of time to finish. A Pathfinder adventure path, if you were playing, bi-weekly, could take you somewhere between 2 to 3 years to finish. As this is my first 5th edition campaign, adventure path, I'm actually not sure how long it's going to take us. However, we plan on playing weekly, and I hope you're there every week for the ride. Now, I know I've chatted your ear off, but I would be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to tell you to not only subscribe to our page, but to check us out on Facebook at Axes, Armor, Amulets Network. That is where we're posting all of our announcements, our news, as well as our release of episodes and all that stuff until our website is finished. I'm hoping that's going to be in October at some point, but the podcast might release first. It is just me kind of putting this all together on my own time and my own dime. So, I'm working on it, making sure it's going to get done as soon as possible. Anyways, I'm super glad you found me here on YouTube. I hope I get to see you on our Facebook page, and I look forward to adventuring with you